Good morning. I would like you to give me a smile first. Is that possible? Could you give me a smile? Thank you. This is great because it's a very boring theme that we are discussing today. On the other hand, yeah, isn't it? Sorry. And how can one stand here and choose a theme like are you Yoda, young Luke Skywalker, or a Star Trooper? Many of you probably love that kind of movie. It's a while ago that you've seen it, but now the new movies are released and we're all getting some kind of new thoughts about what the differences between these three different type of whatever it is, creatures, people. And there's one more question I would like to ask you all. Who of you is Swedish with its nationality? Interesting. Good. Because I come back to this, okay? So I have spent a lot of time with my family, as most of you have, and I'm a proud father of twins. This is my son. He was born 15 years ago with a severe handicap. He cannot communicate and he cannot by any means move or do things coordinated. So his challenge in life is quite dramatic. And his twin brother, he is doing well. Right? This is a very personal experience I've gone through my life. And that is a story that actually meant a lot to me, and I put all my energy into this to be a happy person and to give you a smile when you're sitting here and to enjoy every single moment in life, even though sometimes it feels like it is impossible to move on. Right? So it's a very different situation when you are in a situation where you cannot deal with the problems around you. Right? And I've been through this many, many times the last 15 years. So, and I learned one thing to survive these 15 years and to become a person that is enjoying life and thinking positive about the future. Things are the way they are. It was quite important for me because it was the only way to me to accept the situation and to be very, very confident about the future that I could deal with all of those problems and challenges. So it's an early morning, it's Thursday morning, and I'm talking to you about my son and the problems I have in life. I'm doing well, and so should you, okay? But this is an important intro because I'm going back to my son later on in my presentation. And then I would say that life is a journey, not a destination. And sometimes you're making trips and journeys that are not really planned, that you didn't know about. So was the journey with my son and my twins. But on the other hand, I did another journey to the United States just recently. And it was a once-in-a-lifetime journey. And it was a study tour to Silicon Valley. And we meet the most interesting companies you can imagine. And the most exciting people that could tell you about how they think about innovation, the future of how they look at business and companies and how the ecosystems are changing. They think a lot about how technologies could be used and how AI and analytics could be a key incubator for this kind of change, right? So I've seen all of this. We spent a day at Stanford University where the D school is, and it was just amazing. We were 30 people, 20 CIOs, CTOs, and CIOs from the biggest Nordic companies such as Nordea and so on. It was an amazing journey. It was completely different to anything else I would expect. And what we found, when the Valley is unique, and there's so much innovation, there's so much experience from 50 years. It's an open community. There are things like the technology savvy entrepreneurs that are really so much different than anyone else's that I've met before, right? It's a culture that is so very unique, and they have a lot of ideas how they could finance this. So when you see the power of those companies, and that's why my question came to you. Are you from Sweden? This unique mixture of cultures is amazing. What we have seen is amazing, and they have global entrepreneurs thinking so much different than we usually do. And then they have this risk-taking approach. We've heard this morning, and I'm going to talk more about those kind of things. And experimental and failure. The definition of failure is quite important when you use it, because you should use it in the right way. I'll get back to this, right? And then Stanford University, and this is like an incubating engine for the tech companies in the Valley, including the global companies such as Hewlett Packard or whatever you're going to find there. It is amazing. It was fantastic, and all of those thoughts that I took with me, I put into the next slides, and this is a quite important one. Two young fishes are meeting an older fish. The older fish is asking the younger ones, how is the water? And the young ones want to ask, what is water? That is what we found in the valley. When we talk about AI, they don't think AI is something special or big data is something special. This is their water, right? It's the same like the young people growing up with mobile phones. They've never been without a phone. Is your mobile phone working? Is the internet working? What's the internet? You don't care anymore, right? This is how things are changing. They have made the next step. We haven't made it. It's an interesting story. Are you a Yoda? Why do I ask you the question, are you Yoda? Because of when we went to the well, we only met Yodas, right? They all were mastering the process of innovation, of technologies, of ecosystems, of transition and change. And their change is not to change an existing business model. They think different. They think so much different and they act different. And then we found out, when we were reflecting on the competence and skills we took with us to the valley, are we really cool guys? No. We felt more like young Luke Skywalkers, right? Because we thought we have potential, but we are far away from being a master, like all the Yodas that we met. It's really tough. You feel like, ooh, it's not good. When I go home, I'm a young Luke Skywalker. I'm not a master anymore. I'm not a Yoda. And I'm not sure how many Yodas we have in the room, right? How many of you would feel, I'm a Yoda? I take one example. When we met Andreessen Horowitz, the biggest investment company, risk capital company in the Valley, we were discussing 3 hours with these guys, how they look at the world in their investments and what they do with companies like Uber. We also asked questions to them. Today Uber is a non-asset business. How about autonomous cars? Your business model is going down the drain. Do you want them to invest? Do you have the money to make those investments? And these kind of discussions came up, and they had so much clever answers. It was amazing. And they're also thinking so much different compared to how we think. They don't see the problems. They see the opportunities, right? And then there are these people, or the ones that you can call the troopers. And that's actually happening when you come home. You're only surrounded by troopers. Not that these people are bad, but they don't know what's going on here. They don't sit in these rooms. They don't discuss AI. They don't discuss data science, right? Right? The majority of people in big companies, they don't know about this, right? Would we disagree or would you agree with me? Thank you. Because I think the majority of people are troopers. That's why there are so many on this picture. Okay, and the valley, as I said, is full of Yodas. So don't forget this. I hope you like my pictures. Do you like them? Thank you. I just need this commitment. Thank you. Okay. And look at, I've asked you the question about who is from Sweden. And this is interesting because when you look at the people in the valley, they are not from Sweden. They are also from Sweden. But when you look at how they select people for jobs, these are very different criteria to what we put on a job ad, right? Doesn't matter how innovative we are, we wouldn't look for these skills first, potentially. Some of you might do it. I think, Anders, you said it. And I want to quote you, Anders, because, look, this is my plan for what I want to say today. And Anders said all of this with 2 words. He said, empower humans. I think it's a very, very important thing. I will come back to this. No, it goes, no. I can remember what I said. Thank you. Empower humans, so I put it here. So, and what Anders said is quite important to me and my son and what I've learned and what I've gone through and what I plan to do. Okay? I'll get back to this. So quite interesting to see these kind of people and look at the executive teams. Like, what's in the middle here? Do Epic Shit is the CEO. and I liked it so much. I've done this presentation before. I liked it so much, so I did another picture. I did this one. Do Epic Shit, right? Because it's so fun. I could buy this T-shirt, and I could not stand behind the statement. But these guys stand behind those statements. They live it, right? That's the funny thing, right? Okay, I talk about AI, so don't think I will forget this, right? And I also talk about data science, but not so much as these guys because they're much better than I. So a collaborative and incubating economy or community, this is what we found in the Valley. And that was extremely amazing how they are working together, When they fail, they find someone else to help. They start into a new business. They are moving on. The Stanford University is bringing people from all over the world. We have some kind of diversity in this room as well, which I very much appreciate. And when you see what's happening in the Valley, this is a really true community which is living diversity. And you need to be very tough to make it. I would not be successful in the Valley, I know that. And then the Stanford University, we've been in this room, and we haven't seen those people. I found that picture on the net, but we've been into this room. We walked around with a professor. We spent a whole day at Stanford University D-School, which is where design thinking is coming from. This is the origin. When you hear, I don't say that IBM doesn't know what design thinking is, but they have found their way of using design thinking to make things more interesting talking to you, right? So design thinking is something which is completely different when you talk to the people who really are into this, but it's something that is going around the world and is making a lot of sense to use it. So this is some of the conceptual stuff they're using. I can't educate you because I'm probably not good enough in design thinking. I haven't tested it enough, but I have some ideas about this. But if you haven't thought about this a lot, you might want to do it because it's quite important. The Valley is doing it all time, all day, right? And there's most of it. I need to just find my storyline because I lost it. And so I look at my pictures from time to time. But what they do is they think about money, but it's not just about money. They are solving real problems, right? Real problems. And that's quite interesting. You can see this when you look at Singularity University. We've been there as well. They are solving global problems with these kind of technologies, by the way. And they are thinking big and starting small. I think one of you said it this morning, literally the same statement, right? It's quite important, but you need to start small. But you have to have this kind of idea, the vision, that's quite different from anything else that has been done before. These are the type of things that are called moonshots. Like Astro Teller from Google X is saying, the innovation guy from Google. A moonshot is something where you don't know the outcome, but you have a great idea, and then you just go for it. And you might fail, you might not get there. But these are the moonshots, right? Projects that we are running are often defined by a clear outcome, and we know exactly what to do, because you always find people who have done it before. But moonshots are things you haven't done. So I found this picture quite interesting. And then when you look at the companies there, they all are highly scalable. You're laughing, you like it? You agree? Okay, thank you. Most projects are boring because we have done them before. Not most, the majority. Good. Highly scalable. They have platform strategies. You know, they can scale up their business based on the platforms they build. Look at Amazon. I use Amazon in a few moments as another example here. And they're looking about ecosystems. They don't think about a particular thing or a customer problem. They think different. They don't care. They really don't care, but they have a lot of industry knowledge. And when you see what's happening, here's Amazon. Amazon is going into this kind of industry now, pharmacy. I'm from the pharmacy, from Apothekiata, so you're welcome to buy stuff at us. We're going to help you. We have the best people. But when Amazon is going into this, they get criticisms from the investors because they say, you are addressing this to the wrong people. They are young. They are not sick. Maybe Amazon is thinking about predictive. Maybe Amazon has a completely different mindset about how a pharmacy should work. You should not get sick, right? Because they have the data. Anders, would you agree? Thank you. I was somewhat stressed now. Good. It was a difficult question for me to raise. So the insane technologies that are out there, that we all are aware about, are advancing faster than ever before, and people really don't get it. But in the Valley, this is their water, right? It's their water. And then we all know who this guy is, the CEO from Alphabet, Google. You can find this statement on the internet, on YouTube. So 3 years ago, I did not recognize the importance of AI. The CEO of Google, what is your CEO saying, right? And it's more stuff like front-end technologies. This is my way of looking at front-end technologies. You may find better statements at Gartner, but just forgive me if I do things wrong. But mobility, virtual reality, augmented reality, boards, these kind of things are their water. This is what they're using in all of the startups that we have seen. 15 startups, by the way, just in 10 days. It was amazing. They all use this kind of stuff, but they have some other things as well in the background, the back-end technologies. And it's the IoT, the cloud, big data, machine, and deep learning, what we've heard this morning. I think blockchain, it's the hype. You did my presentation nearly this morning. So blockchain, it's a hype. Blockchain is probably where the internet was in 1984 without having an internet protocol. So it's a very immature technology, I would say. Very immature. But there are companies trying and testing it. Data algorithms, this is what we've learned. They are rewriting business logic, and most of you have probably tested it, but this is always coming from your competitors, not from the inside. And then when you look at the data, this is what they call the new DNA of their business. It's changing dramatically the way how you look at the value you create, right? Because the data is giving you the opportunity, like Amazon, when they go into the pharmacy business, they know what you've done, they know whom you are, and they may do predictive stuff with you, and they may offer you, give me your data, and I give you any more. I'll give you better. I'll give you lower prices. You're not getting sick anymore, right? So this is a different way of looking at it. And there are ideas in the Valley, long before it's possible to do, they start looking into technologies. They are not accepted. The data isn't there, but the companies are running into these kind of tests and trials and errors, and they find out, does it work or not, right? And then it moves on, and when you look at the innovators, these startup companies, the majority of companies, the bigger ones, they are probably, this is difficult to see, but the majority, the bigger, more important companies who are succeeding with innovation, they are there, but most of them are here. They're running major programs, and when the program is defined and approved by the board, it's about to fail because it's already 8 years late, right? Or 6 years late, or 5 years late. We have seen this also in major companies around the world, not just with the Kodaks or whatever it is. So what you can see, this guy, and you don't need to be rich to look good, but this guy is very rich, right? And he says software is eating the world, and he says there is not one single industry which is not affected. We didn't meet him because he would probably not have the time to meet us, but we meet his executive team. So, and it's a statement they all stand behind. They don't just say that, they say this is going to happen. And the Fortune 500 companies, they are, funny enough, having heavy assets, right? You know what Amazon has done in Sweden with the data centers, the data centers they started this year, heavy investments, or they have no investments, right, into these kind of assets. That's quite interesting, and they are very successful and dominating the world. And there's more stuff, like when you look at the life cycle of those bigger companies, it's getting shorter. And there's a reason to this, because there are some companies making it forward, but the majority hasn't made it to the Fortune 500 by now, so you still have some time to clean up. Funny enough, most startups fail. You said something like this before. It's 9 out of 10, or it's probably much bigger. The most important thing is when you talk about these kind of issues, it is the change that we are talking about. However, innovation, risk-taking, and change is not a choice anymore. You cannot just sit still and wait for things to happen. You need to be very, very engaged into the kind of definition of what kind of failure do I accept. This is bad failure, we talked about it, because you know about the outcome. Maybe this is good failure, but how many projects do you need to run? 10, 20, 30 projects before you find the right result that takes you forward, right? That's a good failure because it's experimental. You don't know the outcome. And then moving on, the most interesting thing is then when you talk about deceptive on the exponential curve, and the most interesting thing also I would like to add is when you have technologies, they are not just purely exponential. They're exponential, flattening out. Something else is coming, making the technology better, flattening out. The next step is coming, flattening out. It's like when you look at the technology for computers, it's not just that this chip was just doing this one. It's a technology shift over time that is making this curve becoming that difficult to deal with for people who don't get it. Deception phase, it's under the water, like this shark. Now it's coming, I forgot this picture. I go over this. It's like the shark, right? You can't see the shark, but the moment when it comes, it's going to be very disruptive for you, right? It's like the same stuff with startups when they come into your business. That's quite interesting. But I want to talk a little bit more about what this means for my family and my son and what I've learned. And I feel there are a lot of things happening right now that were completely impossible to even think about just 2 to 3 years ago. And with these kind of learnings, I found out that for me, most important specific individual finding was unlearning. It is coming, what I'm saying is coming from my heart. It's not because I found this on the web and I thought it's a good slide. This unlearning, because for me, things are the way they are, was like, I have to accept how how my son's situation is. And I had to accept that I can't change it. The only thing I was focusing on is to make his life better with every day coming, while things getting worse. But now I can see that things are the way they are. It's not applicable 100% anymore for my son, because I can change his life. I can add value to what his situation will be all about. And this is, unlearning is so much important. It's so unbelievably important. If I could do this, you could do this in your business as well, right? Because it's much easier to do this in the business than doing this in a situation that I'm in. So healthcare will make major leaps into everyone's lives, and we are going to solve real problems. When we talk about bots, robots, we always think about the physical one. No, they are not really important, right? It's not the physical bots that we're talking about. There are completely different things coming. The software will, as we've heard, eat the world. But here comes my son, and I don't know what his dream is, because, as I said, he can't talk. He cannot even put his finger on an image which says, I'm hungry, or he cannot make this kind of vision. But he's a very fantastic person. He's the person that has impressed me the most in my life. And he's laughing a lot when he's sleeping. And he's laughing a lot when we do things together, and we always find a way to connect, but we can never, ever communicate. And I think he has a dream. I don't know what it is. Right? It's very difficult. But I found out that there is a real problem to be solved. Right? And that problem is connected to what I call, I have a dream. I could also say I see a moonshot, because I don't know if this is realistic. And we've learned this morning also that what you guys said, it's not easy to say, these kind of hypes will be reality. But I believe that, and this is a strange definition here, but it's possible to bring an affordable, humanistic, autonomous, and interactive ecosystem for disabled people to life. We can measure the data in the body. We can use sensors. We can predict. We can use the data. We can add AI, we can add virtual reality, we can add bots, we can interpret data from the brain, what the brain is seeing, what we don't see as an image with our eyes, but what the brain is creating as an image. Soon we can do this, soon we can combine this. We need to build this integrity around this kind of information to protect the individual. But I believe strongly that this is possible. I don't know how. I don't know about all of those technologies in detail, but I have a dream and I believe that this is possible. I'm going to work with this, and I hopefully will one day see my son being able to communicate with me, right? And my son being autonomous enough that when I'm not there anymore, that he will have a fantastic life, and that everything that is important for him will be solved without having someone around him that loves him from his heart. Because I believe that technology and machines can do this and can help. Very different to what is possible and what has been possible. And I want to make sure that his twin brother will not be in the same situation as we, fighting and being 100% dedicated, because I think the technology can be this kind of solution to bring more value and add value to both of my sons' life, right? So this is what my dream is all about. And there are some kind of takeaways, which is my last slide now. So you have seen 128 slides now, right? So I want to, can I have a smile? I talked about, can I have a smile? Because it's going to be great for my son, okay? So think about this one, not about the problems. Think about it's going to be great. And there are three takeaways from what I want to share with you. Number one is, let's say, promote curiosity or higher curiosity or become curious. Try to find out things. Try to learn things that are different to what you've learned, which brings us to unlearning and learning. Don't think about the future like, oh, I've done this before, I know how to solve it. Don't do it, right? Apply things like design thinking, but consider this with unlearning and learning. It's a very important thing. And then I turned my 3 points around a little bit, but because it's not easy to stand here and make everything right, you have Hyperight. This is much more easy to say you, because you do everything right. Hyperight. Solve real problems. And I think, can I have your agreement? I want to hear a yes, or if you want to express it anyway different. Do you think I try to solve a real problem? Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much and enjoy your conference.